This is the largest battle in the history of mankind. More than 70 nations were involved. All soldiers are equipped with the most advanced mechanical battle armor, and the enemy they have to combat is even more formidable, as it's an extraterrestrial species that invaded Earth. It all began 5 years ago when a meteorite unexpectedly landed in Europe. Initially mistaken for an ordinary astronomical disaster, it brought with it an alien species known as mimics. These beings possess extraordinary intelligence and incredible speed, swiftly overrunning Europe. After the sacrifice of millions of soldiers, humanity realized its technology was powerless against this threat. It took 5 long and painful years of war for mankind to develop powerful mechanical battle armor. With basic training, soldiers could use this armor effectively. In the Battle of Verdun, humans successfully fought off the enemy for the first time. Among them, Rita, known as the Angel of Verdun, killed hundreds of mimics in a single day. Restoring humanity's confidence with this newfound hope, the coalition decided to launch a decisive attack to eradicate the enemy. Cage, an officer in military media, was tasked by the general to document the real battlefield. Despite his fear of war and death, Cage was sent to the front lines after refusing, where he found himself in a camp filled with new recruits. Master Sergeant Farrell, who was present, was informed by Cage of the misunderstanding. Though superficially agreeing to let Cage contact his superiors, he instead took him to the recruiting office. It was there that Master Sergeant Farrell produced a note containing Cage's details. The note indicated that Cage was a deserter, known for impersonating an officer to evade the war. It also warned of his attempts to contact the outside world. The general had already suspected Cage's intentions. Master Sergeant Farrell then escorted Cage to join a squad, because tomorrow marked the showdown against the mimics, and the squad was having a final celebration. After a brief introduction of the team, Master Sergeant Farrell departed. The next day arrived, the day of the humans' general attack. Cage struggled to control the mechanical battle armor, as it was his first time wearing one. Just walking in it proved challenging. However, he had little time to adapt, as the troops soon headed towards the battlefield. As the soldiers prepared to board the aircraft, it unexpectedly came under attack, leading to a massive explosion. The emergency landing commenced, with Cage being the last to jump. The safety rope kept him suspended in the air, but it eventually snapped, allowing him to land safely. To his horror, Cage witnessed his teammates' deaths and had no choice but to move forward. As he approached the front lines, the number of bodies on the battlefield increased. Mimics continuously emerged from the ground, turning the entire battlefield into a slaughterhouse. Even Rita, the Valkyria, couldn't withstand the relentless wave of alien creatures and perished in front of Cage. Attempting to flee, he was halted by a teammate, and the battlefield was ultimately overwhelmed by the monsters. The mimics, well aware of the human plan, initiated a sneak attack from underground, decimating the humans in close quarters combat. With his teammates slain, Cage located the switch on his mech and opened fire on a wounded mimic. But as he celebrated his victory, another mimic attacked him. Cage, low on ammunition, detonated a bomb just in time to survive the encounter. Upon waking up, Cage found himself back to the day before the duel, his face reflecting disbelief. Seeing Master Sergeant Farrell approaching, Cage accurately called out his name. Farrell was surprised but continued as if nothing had changed, producing the note and sending Cage to the team. Once again, Farrell discovered the illegal gambling among his teammates and punished them by swallowing the poker. Just as before, the plane en route to the battlefield was attacked once more. After a successful landing, Cage found his teammate lifeless before him. This time, drawing from his prior experience, he managed to rescue Rita. However, the opposing side observed his diminishing combat abilities and promptly confiscated his mech's battery. Cage met his end in the clutches of the emerging ground-dwelling monster. Upon awakening once more, he caught a fleeting glimpse of Rita's portrait, solidifying his realization that time could be replayed indefinitely. Determined to alter this fate, Cage sought to make changes. Master Sergeant Farrell, skeptical of his claims, apprehended Cage and presented him to the squad. Cage preemptively listed all the team members' names and revealed his knowledge of a deck of poker cards on the bed. Master Sergeant Farrell was taken aback by this revelation, yet, despite Cage's efforts, the impending events remained unchanged, and he was silenced and sent to the battlefield. This time, Cage was the first to leap off the airship after his landing. He succeeded in saving his teammate. Unfortunately, he perished in the process. Unfazed, he embraced the cycle of time replaying itself. On his next attempt, Cage managed to rescue his comrade and swiftly rushed to the battlefield. However, a chance accident involving a vehicle claimed his life once more. Cage persisted through numerous battles, growing increasingly fearless and gaining knowledge of each impending moment on the battlefield. Yet, even armed with this foresight, he could not alter the course of the war and met his demise each time. It was only after rescuing Rita and inadvertently revealing his ability that Cage found someone who wasn't surprised. Rita calmly instructed him to seek her out in his next reincarnation, hinting at knowledge of a secret. When he was reintroduced to the team, Cage decided to hide the poker deck in advance to aid his escape during physical training. As a car passed by, Cage swiftly slipped beneath it, but this daring move led to his tragic demise. Repeating this pattern over many attempts, Cage had finally managed to escape, but when he found Rita, she couldn't remember him at all. Cage proceeded to recount the story of what had happened. Next, Rita cautioned Cage, insisting he must not reveal his situation to others, as it could lead to him being confined to a mental institution or subjected to experimental dissection. She provided a detailed description of the monstrous creature that had killed Cage. Surprisingly, Rita confessed that she had once possessed the same ability. However, after an injury and a blood transfusion, her ability had vanished. After this revelation, she led Cage to a basement, which turned out to be Dr. Carter's experimental base. Dr. Carter was an expert in particle physics and microbiology, but his research extended beyond human understanding. He had been considered mentally ill and institutionalized while researching alien species. Carter had discovered that all mimics were controlled by a common leader he named Omega. The creature that had killed Cage was known as Alpha, a rare mutation among the mimics. Only 1 in every 6 million monsters exhibited this form. All of these creatures were under the control of the mastermind, Omega, which possessed the power to manipulate time. Whenever an Alpha was defeated, Omega would reset the day and predict future events. Even the apparent victory at the Battle of Verdun had been orchestrated by Omega to give humans false hope and lure the Allied forces into further conflicts. Cage had unintentionally killed Alpha and gained the ability to restart the day, making him humanity's last hope. However, he had to endure countless deaths and rebirths until he could discover Omega's hideout. Surviving the impending showdown was a crucial first step. Cage and Rita embarked on intense pre-battle training, but they faced formidable mechanical tentacles and were knocked out. Rita then had to shoot Cage to reset the day. Their training continued relentlessly, with Cage experiencing numerous deaths and rebirths until he finally glimpsed mysterious images that revealed the location of Omega's hideout. Rita and Cage rushed to the lab, and Carter analyzed Cage's visions to pinpoint Omega's exact location. Cage's next challenge was ensuring his survival in the impending showdown, which required learning from each death to avoid repeating mistakes. As they progressed, Cage found himself falling in love with Rita. Despite being trapped in an endless cycle of battle, his frustration led him to flee from the camp and seek solace in a bar. Upon leaving the bar, Cage discovered the city in a state of emergency, overrun by mimics. Omega had detected human intruders and was using its mental power to hunt and eliminate them. Upon Cage's next resurrection, Carter identified Omega's precise location, hidden in an abandoned dam. The stage was set for the ultimate showdown between Cage and Omega, the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. Next is tomorrow's showdown. After numerous attempts, the two finally survived on the battlefield. Next, they drove the car towards the dam. Along the way, encountering the monster attack wasn't the first time, but Cage easily took care of them all. Then the two arrived at a farmhouse where there was a helicopter to ride. However, every time she arrived there, Rita was killed by monsters. If Cage continued to kill Omega, Rita's death would be a foregone conclusion. After another resurrection, Cage decided not to search for Rita and teammates. He was determined to confront Omega by himself. After more attempts than he could remember, Cage finally reached Omega's hideout. However, upon entering the dam, he realized it was just a trap for Omega. It wasn't there at all. Cage found himself surrounded by alien species. He grabbed a weapon and tried to end his own life, but the Alpha stopped him. After severely wounding Cage, They intended for him to bleed to death, losing the ability to reset time. However, Cage managed to drown himself at a critical moment by jumping into the dam. When Cage came back to life, he informed Rita and Carter about Omega's plot, and now Omega knew who the intruder was next. Omega would definitely target Cage first. Their only chance was to go to the Alliance headquarters to obtain the equipment that Carter had developed. It would allow Cage to access Omega's nervous system to find its true location. The device was locked in the General's safe, and after many repetitions, Cage successfully convinced the General to hand it over. As soon as they left the command room, they were immediately attacked by the guards. While running away, Rita stabbed the device directly into Cage's thigh. This time, he finally saw the real location of the Omega. It had been hidden under the Louvre in Paris all along. However, the guards caught up with them at this point. Under the mechanical battle armor block, the car was eventually forced to stop, and they both passed out from the heavy blows. When Cage woke up, he realized he had not been reborn. Looking at the blood vessels on his arms, he knew he had lost the ability to reset time. They were left with this final chance. In the darkness, they quietly returned to the camp. Cage found the team members and accurately shared everyone's stories, gaining their trust. With Rita's support, the Doom Squad was formed. They stole a flying machine and set off immediately. They had to reach the Louvre before dawn. In the next mission, the Alpha must not be eliminated first. If not, the Omega will reset time again. However, as the ship neared the Louvre, they were suddenly ambushed by mimics. The team had to make an emergency landing. At the same time, the mimic horde approached from the front. The team decided to stay behind and block the monsters to buy more time for Cage, while Cage and Rita piloted the damaged airship, using the last of its power to glide toward the Louvre. After an intense battle, they successfully reached their target location. Rita then used a bomb to seal the entrance, temporarily keeping the mimics at bay. However, an Alpha was still guarding the area. Rita had to bid her final farewell to Cage. She lured the Alpha away, allowing Cage a chance to reach the Omega. Unfortunately, by the time Cage got to the Omega, the Alpha had killed Rita. It immediately pursued Cage in the water. Cage had no means to defend himself, and the Alpha swiftly impaled him. But on his deathbed, Cage activated the bomb bracelet. The bomb fell straight into the Omega's main brain. With a deafening explosion, the Omega was completely obliterated. The Alpha lost control instantly, and outside, all the imitators were eliminated. However, in the ruins, Cage did not die, but Omega's blood had seeped into his body. Time reset once more, and Cage found himself back to the day before the incident. News reports stated that a powerful wave of energy had been detected in Paris at dawn, rendering all mimics powerless. It was believed that the human race would soon eliminate them entirely. Cage returned to the barracks, where he saw the familiar Master Sergeant Farrell and the team members. Then, he headed to the laboratory, where he also encountered the familiar figure. This marks the end of the story. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next time.